I'm improvising in the key of E flat major. So which notes am I using exactly? The same 7 over and over? That might be a good question for a music theory placement test. What is the key signature for E flat major? There's the first question of a 5-question uh, quiz to get kids in the right place. And here is um, something that I have spent a lot of time with over the years and am revisiting. I really think it's time people to see this. This is my version of the circle of fifths, with some help from a good friend and former student who built this little thing for me. You see the E flat over on the left? I'm going to move that whole ribbon of notes over till the E flat sits right squarely on top of the one. We can see the key of E flat major looks like it has 3 flats: B flat, E flat, and A flat. So the next question on this little test asks which major key has 4 sharps. Well, the sharps are always going to be over on the right. So I'll just slide over to them and I'll bring 4 of them into my diatonic set finder. Check the 1. Looks like I'm in E major. Next question asks for C major, which should take us back to the original set when C is on the 1. Sure enough, C major has no sharps, no flats, the original diatonic set. And we want to find the 6th scale degree. Well, of course, they're already labeled there, so you just count up 6, and we're on A. What would happen if I started a piece on, I used A as the main note, but used the same set of notes as we used for C major? Well, right, Aeolian mode. It's all about where the half steps fall, right? So, speaking of half steps, where are the half steps in the B major scale? Well, I have a B right there. I'll just slide that sucker over till it's in the 1 spot, and looks like I've got 5 sharps. I didn't ever like the key of B when I was a kid. Too many black things. Um, didn't understand them. Anyway, that's B. Oh, we want the half steps, not the key signature. So we'll just read it off. 1, 2, 3. Now, you may have figured this out, but when you have to double back and change colors, that marks the half step. So we start with 1, 2, 3. D sharp is the third, and then from 3 to 4, we incorporate our first half step between the third and the third and the subdominant, mediant and subdominant. Then again, after 7, from A sharp, the leading tone, back up to the tonic is our second half step, and of course that's just the way it is in the Ionian mode. So last question: spell a 3 chord in D flat major. Don't have a D flat anywhere in sight. I do have C sharp. I could do that. Now I'm ready to spell a C sharp major triad for you, but no, I'm ready to spell a 3 chord in the key of C sharp major. C sharp 12, that direction should be its enharmonic equivalent. So we'll go to D flat, find the 3, and spell our chord. It'll be an FAC chord, right? Is it going to be major, minor, or diminished? Well, from the F to the A, we have to cross over and change colors. So that turns our major third into a minor third. From the A flat, however, on up to the C, we're just fine. So it is not a diminished chord. It's got a major third on the top, and we now know that a 3 chord in the key of D flat major is going to be a minor chord. I think most of them are going to be, I think they're all going to be minor chords, right? And the 3 in a major key, that's kind of the point. So well, that's the end of the quiz. I think I can lose that now. Turn that off. And we're going to look at how this works. It's clear that all these correct answers depend on this ribbon of note names, which just repeats this same set of letters over and over, all sharped on the right, all flattered on the left. If you know music theory, you're already way ahead of me. And if you're struggling with it, you probably appreciate the clarity. And so I'm not going to get too complicated too quickly. Um, this is the only way our seven letter names, A through G, can be arranged in perfect fifths. If we start with C, we run into this. And the only way we can continue our string of pearls is to sharp that F. But then we'll have to sharp the C and so on. And of course, we have the exact problem. Same problem in the other direction. If we start on B, we're fine. But if we start on E and go down by perfect fifths, we have to flat the B if we wanted to keep going. And then we'd have to flat the E to keep the string of perfect fifths going. So we know so far so good. We've got 21 note names, which is a lot for our perfect fifths, isn't it? And that's actually before double accidentals. I've gone ahead and included B double flat, and then it would just continue E double flat, and so forth, and then an F double sharp over here. Um, Andrew, my dear friend and former student who built this for me, made sure I would not fall off the edge of the world, and I appreciate that. So we have way more notes than we need to spell however many perfect fifths we think we need, um, because we can't have an unlimited series, can we? And that's actually the point. We do. And that's a problem. It's sort of like having an infinitely long alphabet. Well, let's just cut to the chase. We've decided to limit the number of perfect fifths to 12. Why 12? Because after chaining 12 perfect fifths together, we find we are extremely close to our original tone 7 octaves higher. In fact, we overshoot it by just a tiny fraction. So we shortchange every one of those perfect fifths, make them a little tiny bit smaller. We actually can't hear it all by itself, but that's how small it is. And well, we do it. We make sure that we adjust by 1/12 of whatever error we're dealing with, and voila, the last note now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That last note is the same as this note. Now you might notice I started counting on the second note because I wasn't counting notes. I was counting perfect fifths. I was counting fifths. Anyway, we have 12 of them, much easier to work with than infinity. So why don't we just change our definition of perfect for the so-called perfect fifth? Well, it's kind of what we did. The thing is, the original interval is a simple 3 to 2 ratio, which is kind of a big deal, where the top tone is vibrating 1.5 times faster than the bottom tone, like 300 hertz to 200 hertz, or 450 hertz to 300 hertz. Now, the problem with chaining them like that is that no matter how far you go, the new higher note will never be a multiple of the original lowest note, which is basically what I just said. What is a multiple anyway in this sense? Well, this goes to the heart of what music is. We call them octaves, and they are nothing less than the miracle that makes music possible. Double the frequency of any pitch measured in cycles per second or hertz, and we perceive the same pitch an octave away. In fact, all of the frequencies in the same power curve of 2, that is, anything that is multiplied or divided repeatedly by 2, they will all share the same identity. On the other hand, all frequencies that are chained in the same power curve of 1.5 define separate identities. So, by definition and by common sense, those two chains never meet. The chain of perfect octaves and perfect fifths. Octaves and fifths are musical terms that have become standardized because of lots of other things. There's really nothing oct-ish about an octave. It's it's just anything times two. Um, by the same token, a perfect fifth is anytime anything times one and a half. But they aren't ever going to meet, so we've got two separate systems, and that is, as I said earlier, a problem. But we're a crafty bunch. The chains may never meet, but that doesn't mean they don't come close sometimes. Let's raise 2 to the seventh power. 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. Now, here's the magic. Let's raise 1.5 to the 12th power. Now, we're drowning in decimals, of course, but the answer is about 129.743 something. So that is a total error of less than 2% over 12 iterations of the perfect fifth. So if we shrink each of those 3 to 2 ratios by just a smidgen, so 12 times later, we can begin again on exactly the same, those are all the same pitch, even though it's really, really hard to tell when they are so far apart. We can begin on the same pitch identity wherever we started, whatever the original note was, times exactly 128. So this explains also why on the circle, or in the slider, you can move exactly 12 perfect fifths in either direction and end up on an enharmonic equivalent. And now to local groups or sets. The reason that we have 12 notes in the first place is, as I kind of just laid out, that they form a perfect circle of almost 3 to 2 ratios within the framework of the 2 to 1 ratio. And that ensures equality among all of the notes that make up the perfect fifths. They are all in an equal number of 2 to 1 ratios with themselves and equidistant from each other. The amazing thing is that any half of them, that is, any group of 6 contiguous perfect fifths, seem to constitute a local group of their own. Of course, it takes 7 pitch names to spell 6 perfect fifths, since the last and the first ones can't exactly duplicate each other. They fall short, thank goodness, by that crucial interval of, well, a half step or a tritone, depending on how you measure it. But let's go back to the set finder. We can see from the original set, I want to do this once really slowly because this is brand new for, I think, I'm hoping, a lot of people. So we can, and people that already know music theory are way ahead of me, but let's just go ahead and do it really slowly. If I start, this is my original set, notice that if I move the slider that way, the flats are over there, but it brings sharps, bringing sharps into the set finder. I lose an F, but I gain an F sharp, and I'm in the key of G. Going the other direction, I lose a B, but I gain a B flat, and I'm in the key of F. So that's simply how it works. Now, this is a sample of some of the most direct implications. Get ready, and coming. That's a lot of stuff. Let's see. No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. These are the upper part of this chart covers the diatonic modal harmony. All the modes, as you can see, are represented in the little indications of what changes with which mode. And then down below, we've got the so-called modes of the melodic minor. It's one very useful permutation of this thing. And you can see how all of those modes relate to their diatonic counterparts. I'm looking forward to working through all of this, but for now, I need to limit myself to purely diatonic harmony, that is, to this upper section, which relies on the unbroken series of perfect fifths. I'm going to begin with the original set, but I'm going to start on the first note, F. First, I'm going to blow my nose. That was lovely. Then, I'm not going to play F major. This is the that's the eternal meme now for the Lydian mode. You can see that with F as my root, I could move the root over one, and now you C is my root, and I go from this cozy sound of F Lydian, all white notes, to C major, where now the fourth is in its traditional lowered spot. Now, I'm not going to do it that way. I could continue to go that way, make my root a G and then a D. It's really hard to hear because it just, you're not changing anything. And so it sounds like a kind of a sloppy chord progression. Instead, we'll use this rule. What happens on F, stays on F. So we're going to start in the Locrian mode, and then I'll drop the Locrian, I'll drop 2, I'll drop it down. The next one to fall, if I move the F on over, will be the E, and it'll now fall to there, and then you can see then the A will fall, and the D will fall, and then the G. So it's all really kind of cool. And once I'm going to continue improvising in this vein until I'm in F Locrian. When I'm in F Locrian and I can't go any further without losing an F, that's when I'm just going to keep the set the same and switch roots. I'll move to C flat. Now, when I'm in C flat Lydian, I might as well consider myself to be in B Lydian, right? It's the same thing. So I'll just move over to the enharmonic equivalent at that point, and I'm in B Lydian. From this point, if I can keep it all straight, I'm going to repeat that same process. Keep the B, however, instead of the F. Move the B over, so now I'll be playing B major, and then I'll be playing in B mixo, and so forth and so on until I'm playing in B Locrian, at which point I can just shift my root, and I'm home again. So the chart did this. We saw F move all the way down to Locrian, and then suddenly C flat was my root, which we replaced with B. Come on now, it's supposed to be easy. Which we replaced with B, and then follow B down all the way until it's D Locrian, and then go to F, and we're home. Let's see if this works. It'd be nice if I could operate this with my foot. Haven't figured out how to do that yet. I think a pedal might be involved. Anyway, let's give this a shot. Here we are in F Lydian. And let's see. Now, I'll announce them at the first. Here we go. So, next we're going to drop the 7th. And Mixolydian mode still has a major third, even though it has that lowered 7th, until the third drops, and then we have that sound. Still not quite minor because we have this still a raised 6th. Not for long. Now sounds more well and truly minor. Hear the D flat, lowered major 6th creeping in there because of the flat 6th. But next is the 2nd scale degree. That's hard. And then the 4th or the 5th scale degree, which is making improvisation still possible, because I have that fifth relation there, but when I flat it, now I'm in F Lydian, which is kind of difficult to maintain in an improvisation. So I'll just change the root. Now I'm in B, I'm sorry, I was F Locrian, now I'm in B or C flat Lydian. It may as well be B Lydian. So now there's B major. There's, now we lower the third, and then the sixth, and the, what comes after the sixth, the second, and then the fifth, and then shift the root, and we're home. I'm going to try to do that without talking. Let's see if I can do it. Mm. Ah, I overthought it. Well, that was a little better. It's easy to overthink these things. You've got to stay in the moment, and you have to stay kind of rooted in the big picture. So that is a little demonstration of this thing. I don't know where it's going to go. This video is being made for actually a total of two people, a math teacher and an accompanist, both of whom I will be contacting today. And it's going to be a lot of fun hearing what you guys think of this, even though I've just met you. So um, next time I will go into a little bit more detail with, let's see, I can still learning how to work all this gear, but that should put me down there, and we can talk more about the individuals. I'm really looking forward to showing you some exercises to get these under your fingers or whatever. Anyway, thank you and goodbye.